To talk now a lot more about the viral statements from the rapper and where this case now stands, let's bring in legal affairs journalist Meghann Cuniff. Meghann, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. I have to say, while this is a very serious trial that's going on right now, the conversations and just all of the videos that we've seen coming out from Cardi B's snippets on the stand, they've been entertaining, to say the least.
Yes, they have. And the seriousness of the trial is, it's not a criminal case, and it is a lawsuit. And if you read the lawsuit, according to her claim, she went through some pretty serious, some serious trauma because of this. But the way it's playing out in court just really isn't supporting that. And one thing I remember is that when I've interviewed lawyers and judges, they always say the key to success in the courtroom is preparation. And I think there's a lack of preparation from the attorney's part that was kind of evidenced when he revealed in his examination of one of the experts that he'd just taken this guy's deposition on August 5th. And this is a case that's been in existence for 7 years. And the expert he was talking to had done the evaluation of the client back in 2023. So there seems to be something going on the plaintiff's side that contributes to these comedic performances in court. And of course, we don't know what the jury is going to do yet, but it's just, there's just something to this case that just seems off.
And Meghann, since folks may not have been aware of Cardi B being on the stand this week and may have not seen these very viral videos, I'm going to play out just a snippet here, and then we can continue on with our conversation. Let's listen.
I don't think I was on a high level of angry. I was more on a high level of concern, very concerned.
And why were you concerned?
Because I'm pregnant and this girl's about to beat my ass. Hello?
And so, Meghann, again, that's some of the words that we've seen from Cardi's testimony on the stand. I have to ask you, let's talk about the security guard who's in question here. Her name is Emani Ellis. She's now suing Cardi B in this civil trial for $24 million in damages. You were just talking about the lack of preparation possibly, but really what led her to be able to take on this case and really try to bring Cardi into this overall? Because things are not really from what I'm seeing on the stand, it's not really going together very well for her purpose in searching after some of these charges.
Yeah, you definitely need a lawyer who's very confident. And I think she has that. But I think everything else, you can have confidence, but you need something to support that confidence in. And it's just not playing out very well. He's having a lot of trouble in the examinations. And then even the 24 million number, I think that was written in the original complaint, and that was the number he floated around. But we have not heard any kind of damages request yet. I think that's going to come on Tuesday in closing arguments. But Cardi B did bring up the 24 million number in her own testimony, and we just haven't heard any figures from the plaintiffs other than a few $1,000s for some surgery that she had done. The security guard had gotten done on a scar on her face that she says was from this. Because that's the thing with these lawsuits is even if the jury finds liability here, it seems like the amount of damages that they're going to get for plastic surgery on someone's cheek and then emotional distress that isn't well supported by any documentation. The idea that you could get 24 million for that just seems so far-fetched. So there's a lot that remains to be seen here, but it just seems like a strange case to be sure.
And ultimately, Meghann, we do know that Cardi has since denied those allegations, saying that her privacy instead was being invaded and that she was effectively handicapped during this time due to her pregnancy. How do you think that her time, though, on the stand has really shaped the jury's perspective of this case? Do you think that the words that she's saying, talking about what it was like for her at that time when she was heading to this appointment, saying she didn't want anybody filming her as her pregnancy was a secret at this point?
I think that her testimony really helped get her story out there. But then one thing it really does is there's just something about Cardi and her celebrityism that she has this rare charisma to her that really comes out on the witness stand. And I think a lot of people forget that before she was a rapper, she was a social media star. And that's really how she became famous, is she just has something about her that people just find so so loving, and they just kind of fall in love with her. So there were a lot of moments on the witness stand that seemed to go really well for her. She had the jury cracking up. So I think that's the real benefit of her testimony. And then she had her own witnesses up on the stand. She actually had the doctor who she saw and actually witnessed the end of this confrontation, who testified in her defense. Her lawyer was able to track down the receptionist, who was actually pretty involved in this interaction and completely blamed the security guard for it. So there are just some real questions about the lawyering in this case. But one thing's for sure is that Cardi had good representation, and her lawyers are not only good in court, but they're doing good research and tracking down witnesses that we wouldn't have seen otherwise.
I'm glad you brought that up. Here is some footage of that witness, as you talked about, the receptionist, who really was a key witness in this case that her lawyer was able to get on the stand. She said that she didn't see Cardi as the aggressor. How pertinent is that going to be, since this really seems to be a case of she said, if it wasn't for these other people who were around at the time?
Yes, I think that was fatal testimony to the case. I mean, I'm not on the jury, and I'm not sure what's going through the jury's head, but I just don't know how they could find any support for these claims when you have actual eyewitnesses disputing what she said. And there's just something, it goes back to there's just something being off about this case. And you can tell the witnesses think it when this receptionist said that she thought that this was the security guard's fault. So she was a little amazed when the security guard actually called her after she'd been fired for this and wanted to get some kind of statement for her in support of her claims for wrongful termination or something. I mean, there's just something off in the logic on this case on the other side.
And so also we know, Meghann, that the lawyers on the side there of the security guard might be seeing Cardi at this point as a hostile witness. She's been making a lot of jokes on the stand, really kind of making the most of her time, letting her personality shine through. How do you think this is ultimately going to affect the case? And do you agree with some of their assessment that she's not really been the best witness to have on the stand?
Yeah, the reason the term hostile witness is actually a legal term that the plaintiff's attorney was able to use to call her as a witness in his own case. So his questioning of her sounded like cross-examination because he was able to ask leading questions, but the hostile witness designation for her is what enabled him to do that. So I don't want to say it's common because you certainly don't see it in every trial, but the hostile witness designation has a bit of an implication that isn't quite there in legal terms. It basically just means that he can ask her leading questions. So they had that witness stand appearance from her. And then when it was her lawyer's turn to call witnesses, she was the first witness that they called. And she testified again in questioning from her lawyer.
And we have to say, Meghann, we've covered a lot of these trials, of course, both of us speaking back and forth on the ASAP Rocky trial. Those moments in court when he leaped over the area to hug Rihanna right after he was found not guilty. But truly, when we're talking about the celebrity of it all, is this also felt in this case? And when it comes to Cardi B being on the stand, how uncommon is it for someone like a celebrity to take the stand in their own defense?
Yeah, I think it's uncommon, and then especially to have a civil trial like this to be live streamed for the world. I think it's just kind of presents a unique situation. And like I said, Cardi B was a social media star before she was a rapper, so this just seems like a moment that was just set up for it. The Matrix stimulated reality must have cooked this one up on purpose.
And lastly, before I let you go, Meghann, we know that the trial is set to continue after the Labor Day holiday. What else can we expect from here? What comes next in this case?
Closing arguments are Tuesday morning. The jurors are going to come back, hear arguments from both sides, hear some instruction, and then we could have a jury verdict later that day. So I think everyone will be watching the stream to see what happens. And
we'll certainly make sure that we reach out to one and only Meghann Cuniff. If you're not following her on social media, make sure that you're doing as well. She's been covering this case from top to bottom. Meghann, as always, I appreciate your time here with us on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you so much.